Welcome back to another episode of Buffalo Dash. I'm back in Boulder. School's happening, but there's also a lot of stuff happening in terms of the world of Colorado football as well as college football in general. So let's dive right into our first topic. Um, if you have followed Pac-12 sports, even if you haven't, Colorado's defense is under um, under the topic today, under the microglass. We're going to go through it, some key players, who to look for, what to expect out of the Colorado defense if this season happens, and let's dive right in. So the biggest name in Colorado defense so far, returning for his senior season, is Nate Landman, an inside linebacker. Awesome player to watch, super electric. Really, just for a guy his size, moves really good across laterally and vertically along the field. Last year in the 2019 season, he recorded 104 tackles, 64 of those for a loss. He had 4 sacks and 2 interceptions. And having the season he did, he received all Pac-12 honors. He's gotten a lot of hype all 4 years he has been at Colorado, and he is a crucial piece to this defense. And if you watched last year, the first couple games of the Colorado season, Colorado's defense looked really promising. We were getting turnovers, making stops, getting interceptions, really forcing our opponent to third, fourth down. But later in the season, as we faced teams like Oregon and Utah and even Washington State, where they blew us out, our defense looked like a peewee football team, and it just deteriorated, and it was not good at all. But in the offseason, we have definitely reloaded on a lot of things we've lost. One guy in particular is Antonio Alfano. He was a highly recruited defensive end out of New Jersey, originally committed to Alabama last year. Didn't see any playing time under Nick Saban, was frustrated, wanted to get out, and this back in the Mel Tucker era, Mel Tucker did his best. We got him to come over. A little bit of controversy. He was suspended from CU at one point, but just recently this past week, he was reinstated to play football again, and he is a key guy that we can put on our defensive line that can disrupt QBs and force a lot of errant throws, get tackles for loss behind the line of scrimmage, and really help this Colorado defense, which struggled last year, especially pressuring the quarterback and getting sacks, can really help them excel in this part of the defense and help take pressure off of the secondary, which also got torched last year completely. Another big name to look for was Chris Miller. He played the first 4 games of the season and then unfortunately got injured. But in those 4 games, he had 7 solo tackles at cornerback, plus an interception and 2 pass deflections. Really promising stuff in the first 4 games he played with, but we need him to stay healthy, keep his production up, and he has a possibility of becoming a late-round NFL talent and really bolster this Colorado defense that needs a lot of help. Another big name was Mustafa Johnson. He is returning for his senior year. Not getting a lot of hype so far, but his name has been thrown around to be successful in the league, much like Davion Taylor's name was last year. In 8 games, again, he got injured. In 8 games, he had 4 sacks and 11 tackles and a fumble recovery, which led to a touchdown in the opening game against Colorado State last year. He was absolutely disruptive when he played on the line last year, constantly pressuring the quarterback, constantly moving the O-line in front of him, really wreaked a lot of havoc for the quarterback, forcing him to make errant throws, forcing passes. And I truly think if Mustafa Johnson, Nate Landman, Antonio Alfano, Chris Miller, plus a lot of the other freshmen that are coming in and returning, if they can really lock down, become a lockdown unit, I think Colorado's defense can become a super reliable part of their game, especially with all the questions on offense and can we score points and that kind of stuff. If Colorado defense is reliable, we're constantly getting stops, forcing teams to fourth down, getting turnovers, I think that gives not only a lot of confidence to the defense, but a lot of confidence to offense, whereas if we can't score the ball, we know our offense has the ability to get stops, keep this game close for us, let us do our job, they do our job, we win ball games. It's pretty simple because we got We lost a lot of winnable games last year because of our defense, because we just got torched. It was super evident in the USC game. We had a 10-point lead going to the fourth quarter. Defense collapsed. We lost. It's simple. Defense wins ball games. The offense can score as many as they want, but if we lose games 41-45, whose fault is that? It's the defense. If we can get stops, force turnovers, keep our opponents to low scoring games, I think this defense really has the opportunity to improve and become premier in the nation. That being said, I do think Colorado is overmatched in the Pac-12. It was super evident last year when we started off really well in our non-conference games. We beat Colorado State. We beat Nebraska. We lost a very, very winnable game to Air Force, and then we collapsed in the Pac-12, and it just was not a fun time. But Willis Rice brings up a good question. What's a big name incoming recruit to look out for? Antonio Alfano, without a doubt. I've watched some film on this kid in high school and even in the practice squads at Alabama, and this guy is disruptive. He gets off the line really quickly, makes easy work of anybody blocking him, and is constantly putting pressure on the QB. He's a big boy, but for a guy like his size, much like Nate Landman, he has really good speed vertically and laterally. Really gets off the line really well, can make a lot of good plays in the defense. And if he constantly pressures the quarterback, I think that'll add a lot of depth and a lot of skill to our defense. Willis, another great question. Your defense has their identity. Are there any NFL prospects to look out for? Nate Landman, number one. Guy is an absolute beast. Like I said, had 104 tackles, 64 of them were a tackle for a loss, which means he's really good at getting past the O-line, pressuring the quarterback. And if he can constantly do this, if a season happens, and prove that he can be a premier linebacker, not only in college football, but in the NFL, I think that can really, really improve his draft stock and help him excel in the NFL. He's a leader on this team. He's a senior. Guys look up to him. He's the captain of the defense. If he's having a good game, the defense is having a good game. They thrive off of him. And if he brings the energy, the defense brings the energy, we win ball games. It's simple. But if he is having an off day, our defense suffers. So it's really up to him. And if he can prove that he can be an elite defender, an elite linebacker, I think this defense has a lot of confidence going to the season and has a really good chance of being successful. That being said, Colorado has struggled big time since joining the Pac-12 in 2011. We have one winning season. One. Not two, not three, one. Where in 2016, we won the Pac-12 South, but got absolutely demolished in the Pac-12 championship by Washington and absolutely demolished by Oklahoma State in our bowl game. That's all well and good, but a winning season, not having any championship titles out of it, to me is a failure. And the fact that in the 10 years we have been in the Pac-12, we have amassed a whole 39-73 record. Real impressive. It's not. We were so good in the 90s, constantly getting winning seasons, and back then what was called the Big Eight. And then in the early 2000s, we started tapering off. We were still going, 7-5, 8-4, even 6-6, and still making bowl games. But once we joined the Pac-12, it was evident that we did not have the talent to keep up with them. We were constantly getting outclassed, and that gives credit to other Pac-12 teams who recruit better, get better players, field better teams. That's perfectly fine, but Colorado has constantly struggled winning games in the Pac-12. Not only that, they are losing winnable games. 2 years ago, when we started 5-0 after 2016, we were playing Oregon State at home. We had a 28-point lead going into the third quarter. We blew it and lost in overtime. That doesn't happen you don't lose those games to inferior teams. Nothing against Oregon State, but Colorado was the better team, but we got outclassed. We lost winnable games. And does that question, does Colorado belong in the Pac-12? While the Pac-12 in terms of football has good teams, USC, Oregon, Utah, Washington, um, we're in the bottom of the Pac-12, and then in terms of ACC, SEC, Big Ten, we're nowhere close to being up there with Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson. We're just not on that level. Does Colorado consider moving conferences maybe into like the Mountain West, joining Colorado State, Air Force? Could we have more success there? Do we consider? I don't really know. But something needs to change, and maybe it's a recruiting problem. Maybe it's the fact that we can't win these winnable games. Something needs to change there, but things need to change. We need to start winning winnable games in the Pac-12. We need to stop getting outclassed by teams that are not better than us, and we need to propel ourselves further, win ball games, get ourselves back into the top of the Pac-12 like we were in 2016 when we dominated. We beat really good teams. We were a really good road team. We proved that we were ranked appropriately. Yeah, we got outclassed by Washington, but they went on to go to the college football playoff, and then we got outclassed by a Big 12 school that was just better than us. But we showed that we had the possibility of being that we belonged in the Pac-12. But before that and after that, we've done nothing to prove to the fact that we are a Pac-12 team that belongs to stay. And if things persist, if we keep going 5-7, 4-8, at what point does the Colorado football consider moving divisions? Like I said, joining Colorado State in the Mountain West, where it's still a competitive football league because they have Boise State, who was really good last year, Air Force that was good last year, but we could be a top team there. And yeah, we won't be part of a Power Five, but look at the recognition Boise State and Air Force got. They won games that they should have. They won the tough games. They proved that they are a top football team in their conference, and that they are even better than the teams in their conference, and they deserve to be in a Pac-12 or a Power 5. But they haven't, and they're getting success from it. So does Colorado take the risk, leave the Pac-12, join the Mountain West, become a good team in that, have winning seasons again, regain the trust of Colorado? Like I said in the last episode, is that a way Colorado can improve their reputation, become a winning football team, become a respected football team? Because we're not respected in the Pac-12. People say Colorado, oh, they're a pushover. That's an easy win for our team. I don't want that anymore. I want Colorado to be a respected team, a team that teams fear to play. We win games. We make your team look silly. That kind of stuff. It's reputation. It's respect. Currently, we don't have it in the Pac-12. Could we get in the Mountain West? I think so. But that's not a decision I can make. We can only see how good we can be, how successful we can be in the Pac-12. But, that's something to see for later years. Nathan brings up a real good question. Is that more of a coaching issue or just not getting the talent to compete? I think it's a little bit of both. I thought last year Mel Tucker was the person to gain the respect back in Colorado, but he left for Michigan State. Obviously, he was in it for the money. He went to a Big Ten school with a bigger budget, a bigger contract, that kind of thing. But I think he definitely could have helped the situation. But on the other hand, I just think Colorado has lost its prestige. I talked about this in the last episode, that we're not raking in the players we need to be a top Pac-12 team, because teams like USC and Oregon and Utah and Washington are getting and even now ASU, they're all the elite teams in the Pac-12 now. They are getting the players that, if Colorado could get us to that next step and could help us become a respected Pac-12 team again. But as of right now, we're not it. Something's going wrong, that we are not being successful in the Pac-12, that I think it has come a time to be considered. Was moving to the Pac-12 the wrong decision? I think so, but obviously I'm a sports media person who has no say in what the Colorado football program does. But if it was me, I would move conferences to still a competitive, like a Mountain West conference where they still have good teams, still tough football games, but there's not enough. But we're not a prestigious Pac-12 school anymore. And if we make that move, like I said, Colorado can regain that respect and that reputation they held in the 90s when we were constantly having 10, 11 win seasons, winning bowl games, winning a national championship in 1990. What's gone wrong? It's simple as that. What's gone wrong? Nice little segue into the next one. Much of what's gone wrong. In the past couple of weeks, we have had college athletes be super outspoken about the postponement of the college football season. Most notably, big time name Justin Fields, quarterback at Ohio State, projected first round pick, possibly a number one pick between him and Trevor Lawrence. Really talented QB. He has created the hashtag We Want to Play petition, outlining the fact that he is demanding immediately that the Big Ten reinstate that the Big Ten football season is going to happen. And so far, he's had well over 100,000 signatures on it. That being said, what kind of credibility does he have to demand these type of things? Does he have any grounds for this type of, I don't want to say complaint, but he definitely is voicing a very strong opinion that the college football season should happen. Personally, I don't think he has any grounds to be making his demands. Sure, he is a touted NFL prospect. He's going to go first round. He's going to have a successful career in the NFL, but he's not there yet. He's still a college athlete who is committed to a team, and if he goes and says, I want to play, but the rest of his team says, no, I think we should wait this out, how does that make him look? Does that make him look that he's a complainer? He's not a team player, that especially a QB, the captain, the guy everyone looks up to, the guy who makes everything happen, is contradicting what the rest of the team says? Does that make him an outlier? Does that ridicule him for the rest of the team? Quite possibly can. I think it does. He is making some very strong demands on an issue that is so much bigger than him. We're talking about a global pandemic. People are dying. People are getting sick. And he wants to play college football. Personally, I have to say I don't think college football season should happen because of the whole thing. And he's making these extreme demands based off of the fact that he wants to play. He wants to better himself in the NFL, but he's got to look at the bigger picture. He's got to look at, if we start playing and I get sick, well, I just screwed my chance at the NFL, because if I get sick, I'm going to get weaker. I'm going to lose valuable playing time, training time. I'm not going to be the same recruit I would have been going into the NFL. That hurts my draft stock. That shows teams that I'm selfish, that I want to play for the better good of me and not for the better good of the team. If he was thinking about the better good of the team, he would gauge what his players want to do and base off of that. And I'm going to bet you 3/4 of the players are saying, hey, I think they made the right decision. They suspended it for a good reason, that kind of thing. While Justin Fields is saying, well, we want to play. It should be up to the school's decision to do. But in reality, it's just simply not a good idea to be playing college football. He needs to think not only of himself, but of the bigger picture of the whole team as college football as a whole, and saying, if we play this college football season, will this happen? No. He needs to rescind the statement, say, I apologize. What the Big Ten did was the correct decision. In the long run, it will be the correct decision. Simple. He is a big name, has a lot of media attention, but he's still a college student. He's not being paid to play football. He has no grounds for what he is saying. It's simple. He needs to rescind the statement. What he said, not necessarily was wrong, but it was a little uncalled for. He needs to look at the bigger picture, that the most important thing right now is not college football. It's staying healthy, it's staying safe, keeping yourself safe, keeping your family safe. Um, yeah, it's simple. But there is another option. We have seen over the past weeks, not only in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, but in other Power Five conferences, players have started to transfer, especially from the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, enter the transfer portal, looking to play college football. The whole question is, should they stay? Yes, they should stay for these reasons. Say you're a linebacker at Oregon. Pac-12 has postponed the season. You were set to start at Oregon. You were going to get playing time, but now that it's over, you want to go somewhere else. You want to play football. You see the SEC, ACC, and the Big 12 have not canceled their games. Okay, fine. You enter the transfer portal. You get picked up by a team like Oklahoma State. Well, that's all well and good, but you might have just lost your playing time. Now that you've transferred to Oklahoma State, they probably have 5 guys in front of you who are going to get the playing time, who are better than you, who can contribute more to the team than you can. Well, you just screwed yourself over. You just lost your playing time at Oregon, and you are now sitting on the bench at Oklahoma State. Well, was that good for you? No. You should have ridden it out. You're going to get a year of eligibility out of this. You're going to come back next year after you've trained to be stronger, better. You're going to be the best player on the field. You're going to prove all of them wrong. You're going to be committed. It's simple. As well, players have not only entered the transfer portal, but they've also opted out of the season for health issues. We've seen this in a lot of big name NFL players, potential players who have opted out of the season, much in the same process that Nick Bosa did 2 years ago, opting out from Ohio State. They're simply solely focusing on the NFL draft, getting themselves prepared for that. But they've done it for health reasons, whether that be protecting themselves, their families. They just think it's not the best time to be playing football with other people. They're focusing on themselves. I think that's totally fine. That's a them decision to do. We see how well it turned out for Nick Bosa. It could turn out really well for those type of players. The biggest thing, this goes back to the players who have entered the transfer portal, is will it hurt them? I think it depends. Much like the example I gave with player transferring from Oregon to Oklahoma State, it hurts you in the fact that you're losing your playing time. You're losing recognition from NFL scouts because if you don't play, you don't get looked at. No one sees you. You get lost in the system. You become an undrafted free agent and barely scrapped to make it on the practice squad. Whereas if you stayed at Oregon, played all 4 years starting, you've been nationally recognized. You've been a top pick. It would have been a much better situation. So much like it definitely hurts them in the long run. Maybe not. Maybe they don't see it in the short term. They're saying, "Hey, if I transfer, I'll be in a better spot." That kind of stuff. But in the long run, it will definitely hurt their chances at being a nationally recognized player. Lastly, like I said, they're going to lose a lot of playing time. That's also one of the biggest differences in a team between like an Oregon and Alabama, where at Oregon, you come in freshman year, you are going to play, you're going to get on the team. Whereas Alabama, you might not play until your junior year, just because the amount of talent they come in and the amount of recruits that are better than you, they get the playing time. You don't. You lose out valuable time on your college career to show not only NFL scouts but the whole entire college football community why you're one of the best in the nation. Whereas if you stayed at Oregon, you have been in a much better situation overall. So, bottom line, college athletes should stay. Ride it out. It's not the best situation. We all know that. It truly does suck for a bunch of the seniors who were NFL hopefuls. Like I said, Nate Landman, Mustafa Johnson, they're losing a valuable senior year to prove themselves to NFL teams, why they should pick them. But like I said, they're going to get a year of eligibility. They're going to come back next year stronger, faster, a better player than they were this year, prove everyone wrong, prove why they stayed with their team. They were committed. They're going to get drafted, and they're going to prove all the haters wrong, in my opinion, because Colorado football is fantastic. Nate Landman is by far my favorite player at Colorado. He's an absolute beast. Just demolishes all over the football field. He's just absolutely amazing. I could gush about him for hours, but we only have a 30-minute live show. But I'm more than welcome to talk about why Nate Landman is possibly underrated, the best player, one of the best defensive players in the Pac-12. He's not getting nearly as much recognition as he should be from NFL scouts, but that is another topic for the next show. Another really good question. What does the extra year do for them? Projections for them, especially teams, players like a Nate Landman and a Mustafa Johnson in a very this year a very defensive rich NFL draft, especially those players who don't choose to come back for their next year of eligibility. I think it really helps them perfect their craft. Like I said, get stronger, get faster, really focus on what they're really good at, and especially improve on what they're not good at, and help them show NFL teams why I'm underrated in the Pac-12. If you draft me, I will be the best player you drafted in the draft. Simple as that. And, the college football season happens next year. They come back absolutely dominant. It shows you why, A, they should stay. They're not going to lose their playing time. B, they had a whole year to improve, get better. C, it just helps them in the long run. They don't have to go learn a whole new coaching staff, a whole new playbook, a whole new system. Bottom line, they should stay. It'll help them in the long run, help them become better players, better people. They get a lot of adversity out of this, and simple as that. Stay, become better, get drafted, prove everybody wrong. Simple as that. That being said, that has come to the end of our show. I want to thank you all so much for coming to the second episode of Buffalo Dash. Going forward, we will be live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, so 4 p.m. Mountain time if you are like me back in Boulder. But I, again, just want to thank you guys so much for all the support, joining, interacting, asking questions, keeping the conversation going. I love talking Colorado football, Pac-12 football, college football, basically my life. Sports is my life. If you want to keep up with us, rewatch our whole shows, see some clips that I think are the best points. Follow us on social media at Dash Sports TV on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. We stream live on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, like you've been using. And if you want to learn more about me, the other Pac-12 shows that we host, find us online, dashsports.tv. A lot of cool stuff up there. We'll be posting the full shows, the clips, same as posting them on YouTube. And yeah, I look forward to talking about some more Colorado football next week. Thank you guys so much for coming. Have a great day.